Welcome to Millennial 616. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Thanks for everybody's patience. This week's episode is a day behind. We tried to record Monday night, but we ran into some technical difficulties because Laura is actually at her parents' house.
Yes. And there will be more updates about why that is in this week's installment of After Dark.
She's had a very bad week, and we will talk about that behind the paywall because she has to talk some serious shit on some people. Yep. But I, too, have had a bad week. And anybody watching live right now will see I'm podcasting from the couch. It is uncomfortable to do, honestly. I like to project, and I feel like I'm kind of like curled up right now, and I can't project the way that I want to. But I threw my back out close to a week ago now. This has never happened to me before. I've always had like some minor back issues when I stand for too long. I'm like, oh, my back, I gotta sit down. Blah. But I've never thrown it out. I don't know what exactly happened. I did recently purchase a standing desk again. And I think I may have been standing at it wrong. That's my only guess because this started in my lower back. And at the beginning, I was okay. I was able to function. However, when I kneeled down or sat down and then got up, I felt this tight pain. But I kept doing everything that I normally do. I kept walking Brooklyn. I kept working out. Just living my day-to-day life. I didn't change anything. I barely even iced it, which was probably really stupid. So, a few days into this, I get on my fit desk. It starts hurting really bad, my lower back. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to cut my workout short. I shower. I go sit at my computer. I sit, I don't know, for a half hour, 45 minutes. I try to stand. I stand, but just immediately searing back pain. I can barely move my legs. I am just unable to continue standing. Pat, he was let go, so he's home. I was like, Pat, come help me. He had to drag me from the desk to the bed. It was just that awful of pain that I was experiencing. And so, threw my back out, and it sucks. Pam, you actually have a lot of experience with this, right? But you don't go to the chiropractor?
Yeah, I do. So my back's been bad ever since I got into a really bad car accident in... I don't know, maybe like 2012, somewhere around there. And my back, I don't think has ever been the same after that. But the doctor told me the first time it kind of started aching long after the car accident that I was probably just going to have back issues for my whole life, which really sucks. Yeah. But yeah, I've never gone to the chiropractor. Like you, I am baby, and I'm scared of the pain. But also, you always hear these stories about how people become addicted to the chiropractor, and I don't have money for that.
Yeah,
so I'd much rather try and fix it on my own.
And you have to go a lot. Well, okay, so get this. So I go over the weekend. I have an initial review, and they take scans of my spine. I get a little therapy. I leave. I went back on Monday. I go into the chiropractor's office, close the door. She pulls up the scans of my spine. She starts detailing, my spine, the nerves, the discs. I start losing blood in my head. She's talking for a couple minutes. I'm thinking to myself, I need to lay down or I'm going to pass out. It freaks me out to see scans, x-rays of the inside of me. It freaks me out to hear about anything that might be wrong with me. This has happened to me before. It started way back when I was like 9. I got one of those swabs down the back of your throat for I don't know, some sort of test. I left the doctor's room at the age of like 9 or 10, immediately collapsed on the floor. I pass out. This also happened a few years ago, when a doctor told me there might be something wrong with my heart. I'm like, I need to lay down because I'm about to pass out. So yesterday at the chiropractor, excuse me, I need to lay down right now or I'm going to pass out.
They're used to it, I'm sure.
I climb out of the chair. I lay down in the doctor's office. I'm like, I'm sorry. And she starts typing at her desk like this isn't the weirdest thing that she's seeing today. She's like, oh, it's no problem. But it's like so humiliating.
Okay, but see, at least you do that when you're already at the doctor's office. I do that when I'm at home because I start Googling on WebMD.
Oh, yeah.
And every time I do this, I'm just like, I'm going to die. It's cancer. Like, let me just write out my last will and testament right now.
Yeah. There's something inside me that triggers me. And it's not a panic attack. I just am about to pass out. So after a couple minutes, I get back up and I'm fine. But okay, so skip to the alignment. I had never had an alignment before. I've never been to a chiropractor before. I didn't know what to expect. And frankly, I didn't want to know because I am, like Pam, baby. So she kind of walks me through it. And I lay on my stomach and she's like, all right, now take a deep breath in and then slowly let it out. And I start, okay. And then suddenly, boom, on my back. And I go, ah! And I was so embarrassed because this is also like an open chiropractor's office, which I like. So it feels less like a medical office. But the whole fucking room hears me go, ah!
It's like a massage envy, but for chiropractors.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
I did appreciate that. Super cool people there. But I was just so embarrassed between passing out and yelping really loud. And then I walk up to the secretary. I'm like, did you enjoy my yelp? Anyway, so
that's funny.
I was just humiliated. I am such a baby. I went back today, got adjusted again. I was tougher this time. I let out a smaller yelp.
I mean, at least you didn't fart. That apparently happens sometimes.
Oh my God, I was thinking about that.
Yeah,
I bet. And, I mean, the past 24 hours, I was fearing going back and being adjusted again and embarrassing myself again. Luckily, I did not as much this time. It's been a week.
It has been a week.
And we do have a fun show for everybody today. We're going to talk about Donald Trump's disinfectant comments. I mean, this may have been a new low for him, and that's saying something. There's also been some interesting news from North Korea. There's a lot of speculation about the health of Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, nobody's seen him since April 11th, and he missed his grandfather's birthday celebration on April 15th. Nobody's seen him. The only evidence that North Korea has provided of his, livelihood is a letter that he allegedly wrote to the leader of South Africa on April 27th. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, North Korea, they don't really tend to hesitate on putting on a show. So if they didn't want people to think he was dead, seems like they could just trot him out and be like, here he is. Maybe they'll Weekend at Bernie's him.
Right.
I don't know.
Haven't they done that before, though, with just putting a stand-in in for him? Or am I thinking of something stupid from the interview?
Or they release old footage that they pretend is new footage to pretend that he is actually well. And then other countries have to analyze the footage to tell if that is actually new footage or not. But the hot rumor is he underwent surgery, cardiovascular surgery, and apparently did not go well. There are reports, and TMZ picked one of these stories up, which is significant because they don't get deaths wrong. TMZ quoted a source, I believe in China or South Korea, saying that Kim Jong Un is dead after a botched surgery. That would obviously be massive news, but there's been a lot of conflicting reports. You look in several reputable places and you're seeing different things. But the fact remains, he has not been seen in a couple weeks. Like Laura said, he missed at least one very important event. He's probably not in good condition right now, if he is alive.
Yeah, I can't see why they would hold back on having him make a public appearance if he was fine.
Right.
Although I will say, South Korea right now is pouring water on this rumor. And I mean, also U.S. intelligence is denying this, but
anyway, a little scandal.
That would be, because we actually covered the death of Kim Jong Il back on Smart Mouths in 2011.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, if he's dead, he didn't even make it 10 years.
Yeah. Who's Trump going to look up to now?
The rumor is his sister would be the next person in the line of succession. But who knows?
Wow.
Yeah.
That honestly surprised. That would be so sad that North Korea has a female leader before America does.
I know. But I think they're running out of Kim family relatives because he had his uncle or cousin assassinated in Malaysia a couple years ago.
Meanwhile, Trump is like, I love this guy.
He's so great. He's the best. It was the best assassination ever.
He's chubby. I'm chubby. He's a dictator. I want to be a dictator. We're best buds.
Well, speaking of Trumpian things, I finally received information from the IRS website that I am indeed eligible for the $1,200 stimulus payment.
Oh,
and
good.
They have my bank information, but they're like, we'll let you know when it's going to be deposited. So I have to keep checking back every day for them to like update the date that my payment will be made.
Oh, well, you can also set an alert in your online banking system when you get a certain deposit larger than a certain size.
But I want to know when it's coming.
It should be like that,
I want
right?
advance notice. I don't
You
know.
want advance notice?
I do.
Gonna roll out the red carpet?
As we're going to chronicle in After Dark, this will be very useful for me. So,
that's fair.
Yeah, I want the money.
Both Pam and Jewel got a letter from Donald Trump. Pam, tell us about that.
We did. So we got this letter, and the letterhead said it's from the White House, and it's basically like this mumbo jumbo BS. Donald Trump trying to make everybody feel okay about the coronavirus, which is honestly too little, too late. Basically, just saying that that's why they're sending the money, and it's signed by him. So I guess like maybe everybody that got direct deposits is gonna get these letters because we're not getting physical checks with his signature in the memo line.
I think that's exactly right. That's exactly right. What a waste of paper to send out all those.
I know.
It's a campaign ad, like we said a couple of weeks ago.
My mom and I both got one, and I was about to toss it, and she's like, "Well, I'm going to keep mine," because she's convinced that they're going to turn around and tax us on the money later, even though they've already said they're not. But I guess I don't remember this because I wasn't as in the know, but I guess maybe this is not the first time that the government has given out some stimulus money to people, and they got taxed on it last time. I think it might have been for 9/11, but don't quote me.
There was a stimulus payment that was made. I don't think it was specifically 9/11. It was when the economy tanked during the Iraq War. And they sent out stimulus payments. But I was like 17 at the time, so I didn't get one because I was a dependent. So I'm not sure if they got taxed, but wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
And meanwhile, Congress did refund the payroll protection program, and I applied for Hypable. Still have not received money from it yet, even though I applied a few weeks ago. So Wells Fargo said they were going to prepare my application in the event that the program was refunded. So now I'm just waiting to see. I really hope they do that because we could definitely use that money. And that's going to be money not just for the website, but for the podcasts as well. It's going to benefit us in a couple different ways since those things are all under one business. But yeah, I'll let everybody know just because I think it might be interesting for people to know somebody's experience with the payroll protection program. There's also been some bullshit going on. Some big companies that are publicly traded, in fact, have been applying for the payroll protection program when they really should not be. Companies including the Los Angeles Lakers and Potbelly, the sandwich shop, but there's been many, many more. The companies I didn't recognize, so I'm not going to bring them up. But their asses are getting called out, and now they're agreeing to return that money because the payroll protection program is for small businesses. It's not to help all-star NBA players, people who are already well off. It's not to help massive companies that should have been saving money anyway because they can. It's for the little guy. So screw you. Anyway.
Indeed. All right. Well, before we move on, we just wanted to say, and this is where I can put on my PBS voice, this week's episode is sponsored by listeners like you. We actually don't have any traditional advertisers this week, and our ad coverage in the coming weeks is going to be more sparse than what you're all probably used to. With COVID-19 impacting our advertisers, we feel so lucky to be a listener-supported show over at patreon.com/millennial. It gives us the funding we need to run this show, plus create cool benefits that are posted weekly exclusively on Patreon. With support tiers as low as $2 a month, it's very affordable to join us on Patreon, and thank you to all of you who currently support us, no matter the tier. If you need plenty of content to stay entertained while you shelter in place, we recommend our $5 support level to gain access to our flagship benefit, After Dark, the Millennial Variety Show, our exclusive Discord channel to chat with the hosts and each other during live broadcasts, and more. And if you're not in a place to part with your hard-earned cash, there are still ways you can support the show. Subscribe to us for free on your favorite podcasting app, share your favorite episodes or content from our social feeds, or share the show with a friend. Getting the word out there about the show also really helps us out. We're weathering this storm like so many of you and would humbly appreciate any support of the show, financial or otherwise. So thank you for sticking with us. It really does mean everything.
Thank you very much. And there is a fun piece of bonus content on Patreon this week. Like I said, we tried to record Monday night. We ultimately did not start recording, but we were together on Zoom for an hour, and that was recorded. So we released that on Patreon, and it was actually pretty fun. It's a freewheeling conversation as we're trying to figure out what's going on with Laura's computer and microphone.
Yep. As my life burned to the ground.
In real time this time.
Yep.
Yeah. So feel free to check that out. Okay, so Laura, you did something fun for the show this week.
Yeah, so yesterday I made a call to the Georgia State Governor Mansion and requested a tour of the governor's mansion since the state is reopened. And I recorded it.
Okay. Is there any other setup we need to do here?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
I purposely didn't listen to this so I could be surprised on the show.
I didn't either. Last week we spoke about Governor Kemp and how he was stupidly opening things. Even Donald Trump didn't like the idea. So now the tables have turned and constituents like Laura just want to visit his house. Come on. Isn't everything okay?
It's important.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, y'all. So it is about 11 o'clock in the morning. I am getting ready to call the Georgia Governor's Mansion to request a tour now that the state has been reopened. So let's see how this goes.
Welcome to the Governor's Office. Your call may be monitored or recorded for quality purposes. If you are calling about tours to the Mansion Museum, the mansion will remain closed to the public until further notice. Please feel free to visit the mansion website at gov.georgia.gov/Governor's Mansion and check out the Tour of the Mansion tab for a virtual tour. For questions related to the coronavirus,
virtual
press
tour.
1.
Can't get corona that way.
Press 2 or remain on the line.
I will remain on the line. I have questions about why the governor's mansion is not open.
The next available agent.
I love Laura's commentary throughout this.
They were ready for you.
Thank you for contacting the governor's office. This is Sandy. How may I help you?
Hi, I was calling because I was hoping to schedule a tour of the mansion, but I noticed that on the automated message it says the mansion's still closed.
It is. It's still closed, and it'll be closed until further notice. You're more than welcome to look on that website until at least the 30th of April, because we're still under the shelter-in-place order. For updates on when you can book an appointment, okay?
Oh, so wait, the mansion is still under the shelter-in-place order?
Most businesses are still under the shelter-in-place order. It's only a few businesses that are allowed to be open at this time because they were drastically impacted. Right.
Oh, man, I'm disappointed. I went out and got my nails done and everything so I can come do this.
Oh, my
God. Okay. Well, if you would like to schedule an appointment, the fact that they're closed, you're unable to do so. But follow on the governor's website and you'll have dates on when you can schedule that appointment, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
God damn, you're such a savage.
I felt too bad to give her a hard time because she was really trying to do her job.
She hated you. She hated you, Laura.
I know.
That's all she's been doing all day, and she was like,
I have to give her credit. She was prepared, and it's because they've been getting a lot of calls like that, and it's not their fault. My favorite was after my nail comment, she paused for a full 3 seconds.
Yeah, she was like, who the fuck gets their nails did for the governor's mansion?
I was prepared to see if she could give Governor Kemp an invitation to go bowling with me, but I thought that might be a bridge too far because I felt like
maybe you can send a letter, an invitation.
That's a good idea. Maybe that'll be my next stop.
Don't they sometimes respond? If you send a letter to the White House, sometimes somebody will send you a letter back.
Laura, if you do actually take a tour,
so that was fun.
If you ever take a tour of the house for real, you should walk in with full-blown hazmat suit, gas mask, have your nails done, and you could go up to the secretary and be like, hey, remember me? Huh?
Yeah. No, I'll bring a bowling ball too.
So also this past week, Trump wondered out loud on video if injecting Clorox or bringing the light inside of us will cure COVID. And I want to play the clip because he's pretending now that it was sarcastic, his comments, when they absolutely were not.
A question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light.
Bam, bam, bam.
And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
You're going to test bringing the light in through the skin. Sounds interesting.
That sounds like a really weird religious thing.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, bring Jesus inside of you. Bring the light in.
Arms up in the air. Bring the light in me. Oh, Lord, let it in.
I'm ready.
Cure me. And by the way, he's turning to Dr. Birx. He's not talking to a journalist. He's talking to a doctor, if this is possible. Meanwhile, not in this video that I'm playing, but there's another angle from this press conference where you can see Trump and Dr. Birx. She's not even looking up at him. She's like in her head, holy shit, what the fuck is happening?
In fact, you can see the exact moment when her soul leaves her body.
Seriously.
It's real rough. And I think it's got to be terrible for doctors to, well, one, she's like realizing, I can't believe I am on this side of this discussion. But also, like, I was doing a little bit of reading on the light therapy he's talking about, and apparently it's a UV light therapy that is being tested, but the way he's describing it is like you're shining a light up somebody's ass, you know?
Because he always talks like a fifth grader, and he probably forgot what type of light it was, so he was just talking about light generally. But anyway, we're not done yet. We haven't hit the disinfectant part yet.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
Love the light. Light is hot. So hot right now. So clearly there is no sarcasm here. But he's talking about, I guess, how disinfectant wipes, you wipe down a countertop or a door handle and it kills the germs. That's what he's talking about, right? And for some reason, he's connected in his mind.
Or like hand sanitizer.
Right. These things. So if they can kill the germ on our skin, maybe they can kill the germ once it's inside of us. So let's start swallowing Clorox.
Hey, if President Trump wants to be the guinea pig for that practice, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, right?
He can test it out for the rest of us.
Unfortunately, I don't think we have numbers on this, but I have seen that poison centers have received an increased number of calls. Potentially, people have actually tried this. People hang on to Trump's every word. His supporters hang on to his every word. So people may have taken this seriously. What was really funny about this was all these disinfectant companies suddenly came out on their social media channels and said, hey, do not swallow the disinfectant. Please do not. Not safe. There was a lot of pushback. Like I said, he tried to deny that he was saying that seriously, but he clearly was. And then he canceled the following 2 days of briefings with the media because it was just a really bad moment for him.
Clearly the disinfectant worked for something.
Oh, right.
Got those briefings canceled. I've heard similar reports, and like I also heard that Purell was thinking about adding some kind of bitter element to their hand sanitizer to dissuade people from consuming it. Bradley Whitford had a really funny video about this on his Twitter. He took a video of himself pretend chugging a bottle of Clorox, and he called it a GOP keg party.
So this was probably one of the stupidest things that Donald Trump has said in his presidency so far, but it made me wonder, what other stupid things have presidents and vice presidents said over the years? So I did a little Googling, and I decided to turn this into a game. So I'm going to read you two a quote, and then I'm going to give you some options as to who said it, and you have to tell me, okay?
Sounds good.
I'm ready.
So we're going to start with an easy one. This one is pretty well known, I think. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on
you.
Shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again.
That is our Lord and Savior, George W. Bush.
That is correct. That clip was featured at the beginning or end of Michael Moore's excellent documentary, Fahrenheit 9/11, I believe.
Yes, it was.
Oh, man. Very embarrassing. Okay.
Is that the only Bushism you've got in this?
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Okay, I was going to say, there's
I assumed, but
there's a library.
This is another semi-easy one. A very easy one. During my service in the United States Congress, I took the initiative in creating the internet.
Is it Biden?
Is it Gore?
It's Gore, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I say it's easy.
Yeah.
Because that's been a running joke for a while that Gore likes to pretend like he created the internet. Okay, now it's going to get a little harder. I've now been in 57 states? I think one left to go. Was that
Obama?
Was this Donald Trump? Yeah, it was Obama. How'd you
know? Sorry, I couldn't resist. I remember that one.
When the president does it, that means it's not illegal. This particular quote, was this said by Donald Trump or Richard Nixon?
Is it Trump?
No, this particular quote was said by Richard Nixon in a 1977 interview with David Cross.
So similar.
But right, Trump has said things
something
to
similar,
this effect.
right? Yeah.
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 Next one. Rarely is the question asked, is our children learning? Was this George W. Bush, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or Obama?
That was W.
What do you think, Pam?
I was also going to say George.
Yes, that was George back in January 2000. Facts are stupid things. Was this Donald Trump in his head every second of the day, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, or Joe Biden?
Ooh,
that one's
tough.
tricky.
I genuinely don't know this one.
What are the options again? Trump, Biden, Nixon,
or Reagan?
Who? Or Reagan. I don't think Reagan would have said that.
I'm cringing, but I feel like it was Biden.
I'll say Trump just so we can have like varying answers.
Okay.
There we go.
You're both wrong. It was actually Ronald Reagan at the 1988 Republican National Convention.
I gave him too much credit.
Well, he was attempting to quote John Adams, who said facts are stubborn things. But Reagan screwed up the quote and said facts are stupid things.
It doesn't matter. That was, it was at the RNC. They were anointing him as the next chosen one. It's fine.
Next one. I've looked on many women with lust. I've committed adultery in my heart many times. God knows I will do this and forgives me. Was this Biden, Bush, Carter, or Bill Clinton?
Oh, God.
It must have been, maybe it was Clinton in his, during his trial or something. That sounds like something somebody would have written for him.
Or when he was still denying the Lewinsky claims.
Yeah.
It was Jimmy Carter. An angel.
Jimmy.
In an interview with Playboy 1 month prior to the 1976 election. Can you believe that, peanut farmer?
No, I thought that he was more wholesome than that.
You know what? He has built a lot of houses for Habitat for Humanity, and he eliminated the guinea worm. He didn't, but
he's repenting for all the adultery he committed in his head.
Yeah, it's only
don't
in his head.
Don't we all commit?
Yeah.
Don't we all have lustful thoughts that we don't act on?
It's called porn. Can you believe I'm a politician? I can't even. Was this Clinton, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Joe Biden?
I can't believe one of them said I can't even.
That's true.
I'm going to say Biden.
I was going to say Biden, too. I was between Biden and Trump, but...
This was Trump at a campaign rally.
See, the scary thing about that is that it, easily could have been.
Yeah.
Either one of them.
All right, 2 more. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. Was this W, Dan Quayle, Bill Clinton, or Dick Cheney?
I want to say it was either Bush or Cheney.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I'll say Cheney.
I'll say Bush.
It was Bush.
Oh,
It was Bush
okay.
back in 2004. Yep.
I knew that it was a Bush administration era quote, but I was like, God, which one of those fuckers?
It could have been
Cheney's
either
smarter
one
than
because
that,
Cheney
though.
was pulling all the strings anyway. So
Right.
Mhm.
And finally, I'll be long gone before some smart person ever figures out what happened inside this Oval Office. Was it Bush, Trump, Bill Clinton, or Dick Cheney?
I feel like that has to be Cheney.
It sounds very Cheney.
Yeah.
I'll say Cheney.
Okay, well, I guess I tricked you guys because it's Bush again. This was in an interview with the Jerusalem Post in May 2008. So many presidents have said stupid things over the years. Obama only said one stupid thing ever.
Well, Obama had his moments.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Does anybody remember when I forget which late night show that he was on, and he was talking about playing a game of bowling, and he said it was like the Special Olympics when he was playing, and everybody was like,
yeah.
Barack, no.
Oh, yeah.
You're supposed to be the cool president.
Right, yeah.
Let's talk about sleep because, we're all kind of a little bit stressed maybe in terms of the current climate with the coronavirus pandemic. And I was reading over the course of the last month quite a few articles that were talking about how if you're either struggling to sleep or maybe have been sleeping more and noticed yourself having some weirder dreams over the course of the last few months, chances are the coronavirus might actually be to blame. So basically what it boils down to is that pandemic related stress plus mandated stay-at-home orders could actually be the reason you're having trouble sleeping or having strange dreams all of a sudden, especially if you're not usually prone to those things. If you're sleeping more, that's likely the reason your dreams might be more vivid. There was an interview with a neuroscience professor at UC Berkeley named Matthew Walker that showed up at an NPR affiliate website. And he was basically saying that since people are working from home and don't have to get up as early, they're sleeping in a little bit more. And that's actually the reason why you could be falling into REM sleep, which is the state of sleep you need to reach in order to be dreaming. So you might be experiencing more REM sleep than normal if you are sleeping more. And the longer you sleep, the more likely you are to go into this state of sleeping. But then if you're sleeping less and suffering from disrupted sleep, it could also be because your anxiety is at an all-time high based on what's going on in the world around you. So either way, the coronavirus could be fucking with your sleeping patterns, which is too bad. So I wanted to kind of use this as a springboard to check in with all of us. And I was curious about whether you guys found yourselves sleeping more, sleeping less, or if your sleeping patterns are a little bit different now that, we're all in the thick of all of this.
Let's start with you, Laura, because now you are working from home.
Yes. So I will agree with the commuting point. The fact that I can wake up 5 minutes before I have to be online is wonderful. The downside is, though, I think due to a lot of the stress that comes with the uncertainty, I'm not sleeping as well. And it's taking me longer to fall asleep at night. It's not been uncommon for me to struggle to fall asleep until like 2 or 3 in the morning on a few occasions. And I've had some wild dreams, which I think you're going to get into in a minute. But I'm also a sleep talker when I'm stressed specifically. So I've been doing a lot of sleep talking lately. I get almost a daily report from Mark about the things that I say. So yeah, that's like the TLDR.
What? How much can I pay Mark to have him start recording you when you sleep talk so we can play it on air? Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, you don't need to pay. I've never said anything like scandalous. I've never admitted to like adultery or murders.
Mark, please record Laura the next time she is sleep talking. I want to hear this.
It's completely nonsensical. That's the funny thing.
Right.
Like it's stuff that like has no contextual sense to it.
Because of my back issues, I've had a little harder time sleeping because it can be uncomfortable. But I have not had a hard time sleeping. I rarely do have a hard time sleeping. My hours haven't changed. I'm a morning person. I enjoy getting up in the morning. So even if I did have to go to an office, I'd probably would still be getting up at my same time. But yeah, no, this hasn't been affecting me. But I rarely dream, or at least I rarely remember the dreams. And I don't know why that is, because I wish I dreamt more. It's just black for me.
I think that's pretty normal.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I only dream when I'm stressed.
I think I might only dream when I'm stressed too. I don't know. It depends. For a really long time.
What are you guys dreaming of? The stress or like better days?
No, just weird shit.
I had a dream a couple weeks ago that Canada and Mexico shut down their borders, and that the crisis got so bad here in the US that people were like, we literally, like, we had like a reverse situation of what our southern border looks like now, except we were the ones trying to cross the border. And I dreamed that I was part of this like humanitarian task force that was like driving around to all of the border stations to give people food and water.
Aww.
And they were like languishing in extreme conditions, and it was awful. I woke up and I was like, fuck.
Look at that. Lori even helps people in her dreams.
That is really nice. My friends know this too, because I'm notorious for every once in a while just having these really weird post-apocalyptic dreams. And I don't know if it's because I consume so much media that it just kind of seeps in. Not very long ago, I think last week, I had a dream that I was driving, and I can't remember who was sitting next to me, but somebody was in the passenger seat, and I pointed out the window because it was dark. It was night. And I said, "Oh, look at the moon. It's really big. It must be a full moon night." So we were looking at the moon while I was driving. And then I said, "I think the moon's getting bigger." And then it got really big. And then it pulled back. And then it exploded like right over this mountain range. And that shit caught on fire. And then all of a sudden the fire started coming closer to my car. And the last thing I remember was having to drive through liquid fire to get out, and just freaking out about my tires melting and not being able to escape. But like that's pretty indicative of the kind of really weird dreams that I tend to have.
Do you guys analyze your dreams? Do you wonder if they mean something?
The only time I've done that is when I had a pretty typical stress dream. So this was several years ago, but I had a dream that I woke up. So like in the dream, I woke up and I went and looked in the mirror at myself, and my teeth were falling out.
Ooh, that's a common type of dream, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's a really common stress dream. And I like woke up and it freaked me out because it was really disturbing. It was so vivid. Like I still remember that visual incredibly vividly. And I like went to Google, and it turned out it's super common anytime you're like feeling stressed or you feel like some level of imposter syndrome, like you're not good enough, that kind of thing. So yeah, I've definitely done that. But for some of this other stuff, like my dream about, people in the US being shut out from Mexico and Canada due to coronavirus, I felt like was pretty self-explanatory.
It's funny you mention your teeth falling out, because usually when I have nightmares that really startle me awake, it's some kind of weird body dysmorphic type situation. So either like my teeth are falling out, or like I'm growing scales, or like weird. No, I'm serious. And then it's like, oh my God, like I'm just going to be stuck like this forever. And then it sounds like I'm so vain, because that's the kind of shit that worries me. But it's just really frightening.
Well,
when
while
I'm sleeping to look down, and it's like,
yeah, of course you should be worried about that.
Freaking tree bark on my arm. Why is this happening?
Well,
wow, you're really fucked up.
Clearly,
that's in the dream. You're like, I am Groot.
Basically, I wish I thought it was that cool.
Isn't it the best feeling though when you're having a really bad dream, like maybe like you lost a family member, or you're growing a tree on the side of your arm, and you wake up and it takes you like a minute or two, but you realize that was all a dream, it wasn't real. You're like, yes, everything's okay.
My grandma always says, and in Latin America they're very superstitious about things. But she says that when you're dreaming about somebody who's dying that you're close to, it usually just means that they're going to live for a long time. I don't know how true this is or what, but that's what she says. But she says it only works if you call them. So like she's told me this my whole life. So every once in a while when I do dream about somebody dying close to me, it's like my brother or my grandma or something like that, I call them up right away just because I know that I was dreaming, but sometimes it feels so real that I just need to make sure that that person's okay.
Pam, your grandma was tricking you into calling her more and the rest of the family more. That's all that was happening.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's amazing.
That's absolutely what happened.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, Mark told me that he had a dream that I got diagnosed with some terminal illness and that I only had like a year to live. So we decided to like travel the world in the year that I had left. And I was like,
that's nice.
I mean, I guess. I was like, could you not kill me off yet?
Right.
Please?
No, but you're living life to the fullest in your final year on Earth. That'd be kind of cool. Like, I always think this way, I know. But this would be kind of cool for the podcast, too. Like, a podcast co-host documents her final year of life on Earth. You know?
Oh, my God.
So now Andrew's gunning for me to die.
Look, I'm looking for a unique angle for the show. That's a unique angle. BuzzFeed would pick that up.
That's true.
This podcast has a host that's going to die in a year.
And then at the end of it, I can be like, I got better. But like I've said, so like over the course of my life, I've always been a sleep talker, and it particularly happens when I'm stressed out. Mm-hmm. A good example of this is like when me and Mark were first dating. We were like laying down, talking before we went to sleep, and he was telling me a story, and I hit that stage of tiredness, you know, where you're like just about to fall asleep, but you're still conscious and you're still aware of what's happening. And so I heard this come out of my mouth. I was just like, why won't she let you up there, though? And it had nothing to do with the conversation. Yeah. And I realized that, and I sprung awake, like not physically, but like my mind was just like, oh shit, that's embarrassing. And he was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And he was like, no, like what are you? And I was like, I don't know. And I was really embarrassed. But he said, so within the last couple of weeks, I crashed after work one night because I was exhausted. And he came and tried to wake me up for dinner at like 10 o'clock at night. And I was like sleeping, and I was like, yeah, I'm hungry, but I'm so tired. Like, I just want to just leave me alone. And apparently he was like, well, are you hungry? And I said, my stomach is crashing. I don't know what that means. I don't know.
It was a mix between you were crashing, sleeping, and yes, you were hungry.
And then there was one night I fell asleep on the couch, and he came to wake me up to make me go to bed. This happens quite a bit. And I start going, oh, no, I have to wash my hands.
That's
and
good.
He was like, why? And I was like, because she went to the store. And he was like, who? And I said, your mom.
I've had that experience before where I catch myself half asleep saying something out loud, and then I like look sideways a couple of times. I'm like, did Pat hear that? Did another ex hear that? Because it's embarrassing, because you're like, oh, I just said something out loud that I was dreaming that I shouldn't have said out loud.
Well, also just like sleep. Yeah. Like I apparently snore sometimes. Did not know this until I dated Mark, because he had no problem telling me. And I was like, who else have I dated who never told me this?
Yeah, I've notoriously been a snorer, which I'm not proud of, and I find it very embarrassing, and I feel bad for the other person, even if you're like sharing a hotel room, and I don't want to disrupt everybody's sleep. For me, I think it's taking a pillow away that usually fixes it, so I'm laying more flat. But yeah, that can be a problem.
Yeah. Also, I've never heard you snore, Andrew.
Oh, that's good to know.
I was going to say that like allergies too could play a factor. Like I think you and I both suffer. Yeah. Cause I know sometimes if my allergies are really bad, that's when I'll tend to snore a bit. But I think I used to snore more when I was younger, and I don't very much anymore that I know of.
We have that classic picture of me and Laura sleeping in bed together in London the morning after finishing reading the final Harry Potter book. And I think Laura is snoring in that photo, aren't you? Because you're like,
you are too.
You got your mouth wide open.
You do
maybe,
too.
Maybe it's me in that photo that's posed that way.
But yeah, we're both on our backs, so we were probably both snoring. But yeah, like that's the ultimate morning after picture right there. Morning after Harry Potter.
Wow, you guys got drunk? No, we were reading a Harry Potter book all night. So the lesson here is it's okay to be having more weird dreams right now because it's a stressful
nothing's
time.
wrong with you. It's just life in the time of Corona.
Got it.
Yep. But, melatonin is a good thing to try. It doesn't work for everyone, but it's a natural sleep aid.
All right, let's move on to a Bae choice now. We actually got this a couple weeks ago over on Patreon. For anybody who doesn't know, we make these posts for Bae patrons about once a month, and we ask people, what do you want us to talk about in the upcoming episode? And we got a bunch last time, and we've been spreading them out over the past few episodes. Angela says, my new upstairs neighbors have been loud since they moved in, but now since everyone is staying at home, their 3 kids, ages 2 to 7-ish, have been driving us crazy to the point where they are jumping up and down and shaking my sister's windows. We don't know how to talk to them about this. We get it must be really hard on them, but we don't want to be punished for their decision to have 3 kids in a 2-bedroom condo. I actually had a problem very similar to this in California. My ex and I moved into a place. We were on the second of 3 floors, and there were kids above us. And the unit above us had hardwood floors, and the kids had like tricycles and stuff, and they would be pushing and riding things around on the floor all day. They would be stomping, like kids do, running around in their place. They would be stomping. They would be stomping down the hallway, in the bedrooms, just everywhere, and it drove me insane. And I'm baby, so I did not go up there and complain, but my ex went up there a couple times. They're like, oh yeah, we'll do something. They never did anything. It got to the point where our lease was coming up, and we said to the building manager, can we move, even though we've missed the window to do that? Can we move to a top floor unit because we cannot take this for another year? And she luckily did let us move, and I think she waived some moving fee or something like that, which was really helpful. But since then, and since another experience I had back in 2012 in California, where I was on the first floor and had somebody above me, the floors above me were so creaky. Every time that person would walk around, have sex, whatever, late into the night, it drove me up a wall. I no longer get places that aren't the top floor. This unit, top floor. I wouldn't have bought otherwise, because I can't even with people above me. There's always going to be a problem. Laura has a big one coming up in After Dark today.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have to do with noise. Yeah. I think I'm of 2 minds on this. I think that it's perfectly reasonable. And I think that there's, what is it called? There's like disturbing the peace and like peaceful enjoyment of your apartment. Like those are things that you're entitled to. But I also think that when you live in any kind of like apartment condo that has shared walls, shared floors, you're going to have to expect there's a certain amount of this that you're going to hear. I feel that when you move into a situation like that, you're kind of accepting that there's a certain reasonable amount of these things that you're going to hear. So like, are you going to get to the point where you're never going to hear a kid running around upstairs again? No, it's not going to happen. But there are reasonable compromises that you can come to with your neighbors. And I do think that you should try and work it out with them first. Because if you jump right to like complaining to the leasing office, that might set a bad tone with them and maybe make them not want to cooperate as much. I actually had a friend who had this same issue, and she ended up speaking with the neighbors directly. Although right now I know that's a challenge, but if you have like a phone number, or if you could request their contact information and speak, or like even social distance, speak to them, like go up, knock on their door, then step back. In her case, the neighbors ended up buying some like thicker area rugs that they put down in the high traffic areas of their apartment. And that helped. Of course, it doesn't completely eliminate the issue, but, I think in cases like this, your first step should try to be to meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably going to be a lot more productive, and you're probably going to get a better solution out of it in the long run.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
I would also, I would start by writing a letter, especially now with COVID. Like, you don't want to get close to them, but also it's a pleasant way for you to initially introduce this issue. Write it out, take a picture of it, scan a couple copies so you have a record of it, and say, hey, I'm hearing your kids at all hours of the day. It's really loud down here. It's really disruptive. Is there anything you could do? I would really appreciate it. And then leave it at that. Don't expect them to reply. Just see if you notice any differences. But the other issue is that these kids, if they're between 2 and 7 years old, there's probably not much the parents can do to control them. They can yell at the kid from time to time, hey, stop being so loud, stop being so loud. At least now the parents will be aware that it is bothering you downstairs, but still those kids are going to act up again and again. So I'm afraid it's going to be hard to take care of those kids.
I hate to say this because, I don't know if the kids have some kids have special needs and stuff like that, but it really honestly boils down to how the parent has been raising these children. So, and the only reason I say that is because my mom was a single mom. My brother and I are 3 years apart. She had been a single mom since we were 2 and 5 years old. So we always grew up living in townhouses, and right away, as soon as we moved into the first one, my mom established all of these rules. So that, we would know that it was important for, say, if we were going up and down the stairs, not to stomp, not to run. You have to be, and stuff like that. And it sucks because, unless a child is already used to those ground rules, it's going to be hard for a parent to get them to change their ways right away because they're not going to understand why they can't be running and jumping and stuff like that.
Right.
I would hope that your neighbor understands where you're coming from when you explain this to them. And I think that Andrew has a really good point about writing a note, because sometimes when you say things, it might come out wrong and it leaves a little bit too much room for interpretation for that other person to be defensive, which parents can sometimes be when it comes down to you telling them that their kids are doing something wrong. So I think that if you keep it pleasant and maybe even just say, I get that everybody's really stressed and we're all trying to work from home, but I would really appreciate it if you guys could keep the noise down a little bit, just because it would make it easier for me to do my work,
There's a good chance they'll be really understanding and they actually will try to resolve the issue for you. On the other hand, they might not have any control over their kids, so they might not be able to do anything. And I think the other issue is, and I heard this from my property manager when I was having this same issue, they couldn't do anything. Legally, they could not go to that unit and be like, hey, calm your kids down. Yeah, also might just have to consider moving out and moving somewhere else, because I know this can drive you crazy. And for me, it meant moving out.
Yeah, if it gets to the point where you can't tolerate it, then that's obviously sort of the last step of this process. But I think that trying it out, I like the idea of writing a note and just being, very empathetic about the situation, and also recognizing that these are kids. I cannot imagine what it would be like to try and keep 3 children entertained in the middle of all this, especially 3 kids this young, So I have empathy for you, but I also have empathy for these parents upstairs.
There is one more thing you can do, and I actually did this with the kids who were above me. When they were running around stomping hard, I would literally climb on top of the couch and start pounding on the ceiling. Climb on the bed too. Pound on the ceiling. It didn't,
no way.
Yeah, it didn't do shit, but I was sending a signal and I was letting my frustrations out on the ceiling. I think one time, a kid stomped back, and that made me really angry. I was like, "Oh yeah, well, boom, 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 boom."
We probably thought you were playing.
Yeah,
right.
You could have started making some sick beats.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boop, boom, 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 boop. Get me out of here. Yeah, well, good luck, Angela. We hope you find some peace. I know that sucks. All right, time for recommendations.
I wanted to recommend Dissect, which is one of my favorite podcasts. I'm sure that I've brought them up on the show before. It's a music-based podcast, and every season the host dives into a specific album that they've picked and they go track by track and analyze not only the composition of the music, but also the underlying symbolism of some of like the lyrics or why music theory plays an important role in trying to figure out exactly what the artist is trying to say. It is mostly rooted in R&B and hip hop and rap because that's just what the host tends to gravitate to. But the reason that I wanted to bring it up this time is because season 6 just started and they're deep diving into Beyonce's Lemonade album, which I know is super popular. And I feel like Lemonade is a little bit more easier to digest for the casual music fan because it was such a cultural event. So if you really want to further understand why everybody says that, you know, Beyonce really snapped with Lemonade and why it's so important in terms of, you know, Black history and Black representation, I would highly recommend checking out Dissect, and they're 3 episodes in and it's fantastic. So
okay.
I want to recommend elderflower liqueur. I've been drinking a lot the last few days. In After Dark, you'll find out why. But this is really good. It's elderflower is kind of like it's earthy but also sweet and like kind of a little citrusy. And I had this amazing drink that my mom made for me on Saturday, and it was double shot of gin with elderflower tonic water, and then a floater shot of elderflower liqueur on top of it. And it was so good.
Yeah, that sounds
great. It was
great.
like dry, but also sweet. It was great. So highly recommend if you need some booze variety in your life during lockdown.
I also really like elderflower. It's really nice too if you want to spice up your Aperol spritz.
Mm-hmm.
Spritzes. It goes really well with that.
So I have a recommendation specific to Animal Crossing users. If you have purchased turnips, which you can purchase 1 time per week, and you need to flip them for a higher price, you can go to turnip.exchange and find islands that have high turnip prices. And then you can get in a queue to visit that island. I was able to visit an island in which I flipped my turnips for over 450 bells per turnip. I made some serious cash. Yeah, you jealous, Laura? And
I mean, yeah, you didn't have to blow Mr. Nook in order to pay off your home.
I would, though. I love Tom Nook. It's really cool because it's very easy to find some islands, and the island owner will write like, in exchange, just give me a little tip or give me a rare item. So it's really cool. And it's like, it just really speaks to the close-knit community within Animal Crossing. Everybody's just trying to help each other out, and you get to visit new islands.
I saw that Elijah Wood was all about the turnips on Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Last week.
It was so cool. Good. He visited some fans' island and he was very polite. He had good Animal Crossing etiquette. He said, "May I pick some of the fruit from the trees?" And they said, "Of course. Thank you for asking."
And then that person was a Star Wars fan and he was like, "Long live Rian Johnson."
Oh, yeah.
She was like, "I knew I could trust Elijah Wood with my heart."
That was right up my brother's alley. All of his
so
worlds
good.
combined. Yeah, so if I ever have good turnip prices, I will post in the Millennial Facebook group and invite everybody to my island. You can visit my island and then sell your turnips at Nook's Cranny for a good price. But you're going to have to tip me. Laura, one more time, you are giving us a big story in After Dark today.
I am. It delves into the topic of the joys of homeownership. And I'm being sarcastic there. This is not a joy.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to hearing this story. Laura is out of her house for a month. A month. How's that for a teaser? She's going to explain why. That'll be available at patreon.com/millennial. You will get access to After Dark. You will also be able to tune into our live stream so you can watch and listen as we record each new episode. This week, I am on the couch. This week, Laura is surrounded by fire, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. And also terrifying and sad.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other benefits on Patreon. Like Laura mentioned earlier, we greatly appreciate your support. It goes a long way, especially right now. And it just means the world to us that you support us, because when we're doing this, we're just talking to each other. We're not hearing from you. When we get your support on Patreon, we're we're really seeing how much you enjoy and appreciate the show and how much you want to see it thrive. So thank you very much. And again, that is patreon.com/millennial. Pledge today. If you want to get in touch with us, you can visit millennialshow.com and then use the contact form, or you can email millennialshow@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We are Millennial Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Goodbye.
Do it now. Lick it good. Suck this pussy just like you should. Right now, lick it good. Suck this pussy just like you should. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack.
My neck, my back, crack my spine just like that.
That's what Andrew's hoping for next time he goes to the
Nope. I have felt extra clicky after today's adjustment. Not necessarily.
Yep, that's normal.
Okay, good. Yes, doctor, can I please play this song while you adjust me?
What if they say okay, but they've never heard the song and then it just gets going?
My future appointments would be canceled if I sprung this song on them.
Sexual harassment.
Right,
I'm like twerking on the table to this song. She's like, stay still. I'm trying to adjust you. This is After Dark for episode 616. What a difference a week makes. Last week I was running rapidly during the intro, and now I am couch-bound.
Yeah, this time last week I was still in my home. And
yes,
this week,
that too.
I have moved into my childhood home.
What happened?
So I'm going to set the scene for you. Last Wednesday, I'm working, doing my regular thing, taking meetings, and I had specifically scheduled my lunch break that day so that I could participate in the joint MuggleCast Millennial Coffee Break. It's coming up on 3 p.m. when that's supposed to happen. I'm getting set up for that, and I step out of my office to make a quick trip to the bathroom. When I step into the hallway, on my way to the bathroom, I hear this coming from my utility closet.
And you were like, was Mark taking a bath in there?
Well, Mark was in the office. So
oh no.
My first reaction was, what the fuck? And I open up this utility closet, it has my water heater in it. And it's literally raining in the utility closet. Like, it is full on, like, rain droplets. So much water. Bottom of the closet's already flooded. It's starting to spill out into my hallway. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Damn.
So I get in touch with the person who lives upstairs. And I'm like, do you have something on? Like, do you have something leaking? I don't know what this is, but, like, I'm getting a ton of water.
It's raining up in her.
Yeah. Well, the person who lives upstairs rents the unit. They are not the owner. So,
oh God.
Myself and the person who lives upstairs are both trying for quite some time to get in touch with the owner, because we discovered the issue was that the upstairs water heater was leaking, and it broke through the floor and was leaking directly into my unit. We literally grabbed all the towels that we had in the house, used them to try and soak up the water, but because the water kept coming, eventually it saturated all the towels and continued spreading into our hallway, to the point where water was like bumping up against the entrance to the office, and we had to keep getting a mop to go out and like push it back from getting to our bathroom and bedroom. Finally get the owner on the phone. And the first thing they say to me is, oh, sorry, I was on the phone with my CEO and I couldn't take the call.
Okay.
And I was
humble
like,
brag, or?
And I'm like thinking, I don't fucking care if you were on the phone with Jesus himself. You got to take care of this. Well, owner finally gets somebody that is approved by their insurance to come out for maintenance, and they come out and they handle the upstairs allegedly, and then they come down and handle my stuff and put a dehumidifier in my unit to help dry things out. Well, I notice the shit's still leaking, and they're like, well, yeah, like, you know, the owner needs to call a plumber to handle that. And I was like, wait, you're not a plumber? And they were like, yeah, no, I can't. And they really need to call a plumber in order to fully stop this leak. They were only able to stem the leak. And it's going to
who was the person that brought that? Did I miss that part?
Oh, it was the repair person.
Oh, okay.
But
got it.
But they were not a plumber.
Got it.
And it was the person that the upstairs owner called. Because obviously, since the issue originated in their unit, they needed to be the one to handle it. I couldn't stop the leak from where I was. And they're like, yeah, until they get a plumber out here, it's going to keep dripping. Well, it dripped all night. Drip, drip. I couldn't sleep.
There was no water shut off anywhere that could, no...
They needed to get a plumber.
Wow.
And this is something that pisses me off because I reported it to the homeowners association and I was like, can't you guys come out?
Yeah.
And do this?
Well,
no.
Yeah, I mean, it's an emergency situation. You would think somebody would be able to.
Right.
Were you able to put buckets where the dripping was? I saw the video. It was a tight space.
Yeah, we did to the best of our ability, and it literally collected gallons of water. We had to go back every few minutes and keep dumping them out and then go put the buckets back.
Oh, my God.
But the problem is that it's a small utility closet, and the water heater's in there, so we couldn't fully capture everything. And it's a gas water heater, so we weren't going to try and disconnect anything to make stuff fit. So, shit dripped all night. It wasn't that bad. It was just a little drip, but still, I couldn't sleep because I just kept hearing drip, drip all night.
Yeah. It's like water torture.
Yeah, basically. Finally, the owner calls me the next morning and is like, oh, I called a plumber. They're coming out now. And I was like, oh, great. It's only been 18 hours. I go into my office to see that the leak has extended across the ceiling of my office and is now dripping out of my ceiling fan fixture.
Oh, no.
The whole floor is drenched. Thankfully, our electronics were fine because I think we caught it early enough. So I'm at this point, I freak out. Before this, I was pissed, but I was handling it.
And it was isolated to one area.
Yeah. And it seemed like it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I see my office flooded, which it's the place where I do this podcast. It's where
it's your home.
Yeah, exactly.
It's where you make the money.
I see that and I lose my shit.
Yeah.
I just completely lose it. I start bawling.
Aww.
And my dad is like, okay, you need to go poke a hole in the ceiling. Just go poke a hole in the ceiling where it's damp because that will allow the water to just flow through one spot instead of spreading, continuing to spread across your ceiling. So I did that and it worked. But we're still talking water damage all the way across my ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
I tried several times, had several communication attempts with the owner to get them to give me their insurance information, which they refused to give me.
Oh.
They refused to give me a claim number. They refused to give me the name of their company. I called my insurance company and they were like, okay, definitely try to push this person to give you that information because this is definitely on them. But pretty soon, if they're not budging, go ahead and file a claim with us so that you can get it handled and then we will go after his insurance company. I'm like, okay, fine. So I call my insurance company. And I'm straight up hyperventilating and bawling. I can't keep it together. So I'm on the phone with them and I get the guy on the phone and I just immediately start and he's just sitting there very patiently. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just, and he's like, it's okay. Just take your time.
And I'm a podcaster and my studio is falling apart.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your podcast? No, I will say, just to give you a break for a second, I've called auto insurance companies before when I've been in little fender benders, and they always say, "Are you okay?" And they seem to really care. And I always appreciate that they're caring in your moment of weakness, in a very bad moment for you.
Yeah. So this guy was like, "Okay, is anyone hurt?" And I'm like, "No, nobody's hurt." And then he was like, "We understand, like, this, it's your home. It's very stressful to have something like this happen, especially when it's not your fault. And also, during a pandemic, so please take your time." And he like sat there very patiently while I like hyperventilated my way through what was going on, got me set up with a claim number, was like, "We're going to send an adjuster out today to inspect the property." Meanwhile, I'm still trying to get the owner of the unit upstairs to give me their freaking homeowner's insurance information. And the person keeps telling me they advised me not to until my adjusters get here. And I was like, that is such bullshit. That is not how any of this works. You get into a car accident, you hand over your insurance information. It's the same shit here, man. And it wasn't even like it was a gray area situation where like a pipe that both units share burst. It was their water heater that leaked and eventually broke through the floor and got into my stuff. So I'm trying to keep the order of events together because it's just gotten worse. So basically, repair people have come out. I've had contractors in and out of the place. My place was built prior to when asbestos was made illegal. So they were like, they were like, for homes that are older than like 1980, we have to test for asbestos before we can do any repairs. And I'm like, okay. And I'm sure it does have asbestos because pretty much anything before that time, before they knew, does. And it did.
No.
So they're like,
oh gosh.
They're like, yeah, we're going to have to do asbestos removal before we can do anything. So this leads me to why I'm here, because Mark and I had to move out, but also all of our things had to be moved out. So we had to move out and our unit had to be completely emptied and have all of our stuff put in storage.
Completely emptied.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I mean,
so crazy.
Asbestos treatment, you don't want stuff in there while they're doing that because, asbestos is like super toxic.
Yeah.
And it stays in the air for a while.
Like everything in the cabinets, everything on the walls,
everything,
all furniture. So the insurance got you the moving company?
Yeah.
And movers.
Yes. So the great thing about this I'm learning is at least if you have insurance, it's fine. Like I'm not out of pocket for anything except the deductible, which is great. But what frustrates me is the fact that I shouldn't have had to file a claim on this at all. It should have been the person who was responsible, who needed to file the claim.
Right.
But they've also been, and I can't really get into this right now. It will be something I promise I will get into at a later date. They've been sketchy as fuck. Like there have been certain things that they have tried to do that leads me to believe they are trying to get out of filing a claim that includes my property. I think that they are attempting to only file a claim for their side of things, which isn't going to happen because my insurance company will figure out where they are.
Right.
They're not going to be hard to find. But I can get into all of like that side of the story later. But so basically we have to be out. They're going to have to replace our floors. They are going to have to tear the drywall out of the unit.
Oh my God. It's like a gut rehab.
I got, and I'm so glad I have insurance because I got the quote for removing the asbestos just before we started recording. $6,000.
Wow.
And that's just for the asbestos.
That's just for that. So it's that doesn't even account for the drywall replacement that will happen later. It doesn't account for our flooring replacement. It doesn't account for the ceiling damage or the fact that like any ceiling fans that we had in the areas where the ceiling was damaged will probably need to be replaced. My water heater for sure is going to need to be replaced. It was destroyed. And my HVAC might also have been impacted.
Wow.
So it was insane. When you think about the fact that a water heater, contains about, on average, 50 gallons of water.
Yeah.
And they didn't stop it.
Yeah.
As soon as I reported it, the damage is just insane.
Yeah.
And I confronted the owner of that unit.
It's Karen time.
Yep, I did.
Right.
So basically their insurance adjuster came to look at my place and didn't even properly, I don't even think it was a real insurance adjuster, which is something else I'm reporting to my insurance. Because they didn't measure anything. They came in and took a few pictures and I was like, really? That's it? And so they left and I went out in the parking lot and I was like, hey, I want to talk to you, to the insurance adjuster.
I'm not done with you. Get back in here.
And the owner comes over to be part of the conversation. And I look at them and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to them. And the owner was like, well, it's my property's involved, so I'm privy. And I was like, fine, for the 5th time, tell me who your homeowner's insurance is through. And then their adjuster piped up and told me, because legally they have to. And then this motherfucker tried to pipe up and say it at the same time. After their adjuster said it, they were like, oh yeah, it's da-da-da. They were trying to cooperate. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, thank you. And I walked away from them. And I haven't talked to them
You're
since.
like, let me just go call Geico real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And so it's been a shit show.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for my neighbors because they're going to be we have a small parking lot area.
Yeah.
They're gonna be
hearing all that.
Yeah, there are gonna be trucks in there, and also my upstairs neighbor, it messed up their hot water too. So they didn't have hot water for 24 hours.
Don't you hate that upstairs neighbor?
I mean, I'm not a fan, but I also don't think they deserve that.
Okay.
And it was just a clear example of, to me, that's landlord negligence to leave your tenant without hot water after something's clearly been reported to you. They didn't come out and replace the hot water heater for that unit until the next day.
Yeah.
And also their AC went out as a part of this as well. So they didn't have AC for 24 hours. It was just a whole mess.
So are you going to be able to pick out your flooring? That could be fun at least.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's nice.
So I'm trying to see the bright side of this, which is that the insurance is paying for it.
Yeah, you're getting a gut rehabbed condo and not having to pay for the upgrades. It's probably going to add a lot of value to your place.
Yes, but also I want justice. And I don't want this to be I don't want this to be on my insurance. It wasn't my fault.
Right.
And the problem is if it were on my insurance, my premiums would go up.
Right.
Fuck that.
Right.
So I'm being very every time I talk to my insurance adjuster, I'm asking for deets about have you gotten in touch with those people yet?
Because I want justice.
Yes, because it's an example of somebody being negligent, because I also spoke with one of the repair people and they were like, yeah, that water heater was old as fuck. Should have been replaced a long time ago. So it's just straight up negligence. And even if that weren't, the fact that they let the leak persist without calling a plumber for 18 hours, there's just no gray area with that. And I'm like, no, you should not be allowed to walk through this life thinking that you can just be a dick to people.
Yeah.
So I'm very pissed. I was super upset. Like I said, I was I was beside myself. I couldn't stop crying, especially the day that my office flooded. I was just like, oh my God, this turns this from a situation where maybe my one utility closet would have had to be gutted to now both bedrooms are impacted, because it got into the closets of both bedrooms where in one bedroom is where our clothes are. The other one's where our storage is. It got into the utility closet where the HVAC is.
Oh my God. I have an important question.
Yeah.
Is Hillary okay?
She's
what
fine.
happened to Hillary? She's fine?
She lived.
Okay. Oh.
She lived.
Yeah. Because she's susceptible to water. She would melt. She would melt.
Well, so is probably almost everything in Laura's office.
Yeah, but
so all your personal stuff is okay.
Yeah. So we managed to catch it early enough to the point where we just went and we were grabbing stuff and moving it out into the living room where it was still dry. So that part of it was good. We didn't have, none of our personal property got damaged. It's all the home.
Well, that's very good. At least there's that bright side.
Yeah.
And your unit and then the unit above, they're the only ones that were affected.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seep into other units.
Yeah. So yeah, we were the only ones affected.
Roshni is asking, is Canella okay?
Yes, she's okay.
Canella didn't drown. She's okay.
No, she is here. Actually, I'll take away I think she's probably behind me, being a creep.
Hiding behind the fire.
So yeah, y'all can actually see my childhood bedroom. This is my childhood closet. So this was like back from the OG MuggleCast days. This was my recording studio back then. And when I was like 16 or 17, I decided I was going to paint my bedroom all kinds of crazy colors. So I painted the inside of my recording closet lime green. So that is not a green screen behind me. That is just my closet.
What? As a child, why did you record in a closet? Seriously.
Well, honestly, it's a good recording space because it's a small space. It's enclosed.
But I'm surprised as a 15-year-old you cared about that. Because you're right. That actually is a great environment to record in. And this is also funny because you still feel that way in your office, in your condo. You have up all that padding. Laura's audio is always very good. It's the only one I never have to worry about cleaning. I don't even have to play it because I know there's not going to be any background noise. But
yeah, so actually, I'm lucky as well because my parents are saints. I have to give them a shout out because I called them in tears because they already knew about the leak when it first happened. But then the next morning when it spread to my office, I call and I'm hysterical. And I'm like, we're going to have to go stay somewhere. And I was like, and I don't want to stay in a hotel. And my dad was just like, when are you coming?
Aww.
And yeah, we were like today. And so like Mark was just like, okay, I'm going to get Canella out of here. So he like put her in the car, took her up to my parents. My mom gave him a beer. I was like, do you need this?
Wait, Canella got a beer?
No, she gave Mark a beer.
I'm kidding.
Canella, where are you? Come here. People want to make sure
it's also good
exist.
you're at your parents' home right now.
I don't know if you can hear her, see her.
Maybe
she's just looking at me. She won't come.
Hiding in the darkness.
Yeah.
Well, it's also good that you're at your parents' now because we're all sheltering in place, obviously. So it's kind of get to see more people.
Yeah, I mean, the stressful part of it, of course, is like this is all happening during a pandemic. So, thankfully, myself and Mark had been pretty religious about quarantining, and so had my parents. So we were like, you know what, this is probably the best possible situation here because the alternative was my insurance would have put me up in a hotel. And they like called to set that up for me. But I was just like, that seems like a terrible idea right now, honestly, thinking about all the people that you're exposed to.
Yeah.
But the other problem here is that I'm having contractors and adjusters in and out of my place during a pandemic.
Yeah. They could leave their COVID germs all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's stressful. And like, even though I'm not, even though I moved out, I'm still having to go back pretty frequently.
Yeah.
In order to meet with contractors and stuff. So like, we're all exposed to that now.
As a travel guy, I have to ask, what type of hotel were they going to put you up in? Do you know?
I don't know.
Because if it was like a red roof for a month, that would suck ass. But if it was like
I don't think so.
A Residence Inn or a DoubleTree,
it was probably an extended stay.
Yep.
Okay,
I think it would have been
those aren't terrible.
Stay.
Got a kitchenette.
Yeah,
you got to check the reviews.
Something with
before
like
you go,
that would be dog friendly too because of Canella.
Yeah, so that was the thing.
These tend to be a little nicer.
We knew that she was going to be more comfortable up here, and we knew that we were going to be more comfortable up here. I also kind of felt like, you know what, like I'm not trying to gouge anybody here, and I feel like it might get my insurance like more on my side if I'm like, no need to put out for a hotel,
right? Like you're not in it for the
No, and I'm really not, because I was fine with the status of my home, and Andrew, you're right. It is going to get a little bit of a facelift through this, but it wasn't one that I was like, wasn't one
you
that
weren't
I was
asking
planning
for it.
on.
Yeah. Well,
No,
I mean, the facts are on your side. You have all the documentation. You have a Karen within you. I think you're in a good position here for that justice that you spoke of. Another purely
I want to, because
out of curiosity.
I've had to take off time for work for this too.
Oh, yeah, that sucks too.
Yeah.
Another purely out of curiosity question. How long did it take the movers to clean out your place?
Like less than 2 days.
Okay. That's a good amount of time, but not unexpected because you're moving a whole place so suddenly.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that was great about it is they're like, we didn't have to pack anything.
That's
part
awesome.
Of the part of the service is they were like, get everything that you want, bring it with you, leave the rest of it, and we take care of the packing.
Yeah.
So that part was really nice that we didn't have to pack up our whole place by ourselves.
One thing that Laura did not take was her iMac. She has it now, but when we tried to record last night, we couldn't because she didn't have her old trusty iMac because the new setup was giving her a problem. But you said to us last night that you were going to call the storage and ask them to take the iMac out. And weren't you like, I'm going to blow these guys if they'll take the iMac out? Did you have to blow them or did they do it?
No, I just smiled sweetly.
Okay. Maybe that's what you said last night. For some reason, I'm remembering blowjob. I think about blowjobs a lot.
I think in my stress, I did say I'm gonna have to blow someone to get my iMac out.
Look, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. You had a flooring question earlier, and so something that I learned, and I think is useful information for anyone who may ever have to file, a homeowner's or renter's insurance claim, is if they agree to cover the damages, you'll get an allowance based on the appraised value of the damaged materials. So like in my case, there will be a certain appraised value per square foot of flooring that was destroyed, and that will be my allowance to go out and get new flooring. Now, if I decide that I want to upgrade that flooring a little bit, I can. I would just have to pay the difference.
Right.
So a positive that comes out of this is if something like this does happen to you and you were thinking about maybe wanting to upgrade something a little bit to make it a little nicer, you have a little wiggle room to do that.
That's nice. Yeah.
So I'm trying to see the positives. It's a lot easier to see the bright side of this a few days away from it. And
again, that you didn't have to personally move everything out. Obviously, that would have been a gigantic beast of a task. So that's nice, and they'll move it all back in, so that's cool too. Obviously, you'll have to readjust everything, but...
Now that we know everything that's transpired, I can't believe that you still hopped on for like 5 minutes to say hi on Wednesday.
Your life
during
was
the coffee
falling
break.
apart.
Yeah,
It was.
I can't believe you did that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why Laura's the best.
I couldn't do anything. Like, there was nothing else for me to do. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
I know, but if it were me, if like I weren't doing anything productive, I would just want to cry in a corner.
Right,
I wouldn't want to hop on
pissed.
a call.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and say no offense to everybody that listens, but it's just like,
No, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think I was in shock still because it had just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And like, at that point, I couldn't get in touch with the owner. So I was like,
what can you do?
What can I do?
But join the coffee
Nothing.
date.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it was just for a few minutes. And then I was like, okay, I need, like, my anxiety will not allow me to sit here and deal with this.
No, but I still see Pam's point. Pam's right.
Yeah.
It was nice of you to come on. Well, that was quite a story. There was a lot going on there.
Thank you. I'm seeing like a lot of love and
somebody offered to send you a care package I saw, which is very sweet.
That's very sweet.
That's very sweet.
I'm a little annoyed that you suggested that though, because Pam and I haven't even thought of that. So now we look like dicks.
now you're making all of us look
No.
me and Andrew.
We are very lucky because, my parents were like, it wasn't even a question. They were just like, come up here. My mom made me lots of drinks this weekend. They've been cooking and just really taking care of us. We've got my childhood bedroom we can stay in. So we are luckier than most. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be in this situation and not have a support system locally. So I'm very thankful, and it could just be so much worse. This is also why it's really important to have adequate insurance. I know sometimes it's really tempting to go for like the bottom of the barrel, lowest premium insurance, but don't do it, because if something like this happens and it's on you to fix it and you don't have enough coverage, you'll be fucked. So the only thing that's like keeping me going right now is knowing that even if, and I don't think this is the case, but even if somehow they're not able to get my neighbor's insurance to cover this, my insurance will be able to, because I invested in a sufficient plan. But sometimes people just want to pay those low, 6-month premiums,
just skirt
and
by.
then it comes with no coverage.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, now you have me thinking about what I have. I don't even know. I signed up for it at the beginning, and it just renews, so I'll have to take a look at that.
Your HOA probably has their own insurance plan to cover like common elements in public areas. And they should require you to have some level of insurance, but I would recommend not having the minimum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
If anything I've gotten out of this, I'm thankful that I didn't cheap out on my insurance.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Anything else to say? No?
Yeah. Just that there's probably going to be more updates. I'm meeting with contractors tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, let us know, and you can store up a few more, and then we can get another update in the weeks ahead.
I got that quote for the asbestos, and I laughed. I was just like, holy shit.
Good thing I'm not paying that.
Yep.
Out of my own pocket.
Well, thanks for hearing me out, letting me get that off my chest.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, all of our patrons, for your empathy. It is helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. There have been some heartwarming comments and funny GIFs in there. So it's been fun reading those. All right. Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for listening and for your support. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.